Hello everyone, this is part 42 of What If Naruto Got Lost During His Training TS, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. The revelation of what lay beneath the soil caused the Rosuto troops to move quadruple time. They had to get out of there before things got worse. The thing that the mages found was a creature that lived underground and had been infected, but the poison had been neutralized somehow, leaving the creature as non-carrier, but instead had been mutated into something else. The poison had melded with whatever the creature was, which ended with the thing becoming a giant acidic slime monster. Yuri, it's Tem again, we've got a slimmer on our hands. Tem said, after getting connected back to relative. Seriously, you guys have all the fun. Yuri said. Sorry to interrupt what was to be your rant, but we need a way to be rid of it, Tem said. Sorry, give me the lowdown on the situation. Has it broken through the ground, come up, and such? Gon, check with the rock riders, has it broken the surface? Tem told Gon, another of his clansmen. Rock riders report that the ground beneath the village was actually part of the monster. It's rising from its sleep fast, Gon reported after speaking with the head rock rider. Yuri, it's broken through, or it was possibly asleep the whole time, possibly avoiding the infected or something, Tem informed. Have the mages hit it with the elements? I need to know what each element's effect is on it, Yuri said. After ordering the mages to unleash some elemental spells on the monster, Tem had made sure that the rock riders and the foot soldiers made sure to observe any and all effects that were produced. Some of the rock riders decided that they would scout around the area, in case something had been missed, possibly the slime monster was hiding the existence of something else. The first elemental wave sent forth by the mages were whatever earth spell they could think of. The rocks and mud that were formed and hit the monster were instantly vaporized by the monster's skin. The outer layer of acid that it was made of was just too corrosive for the magically created earthen objects. Rocks, I want you guys to try something. Tem said over the radio, pick up some boulders and drop them on the thing. I want to know if possibly it was the magic. It was possibly that the element of earth itself was not at fault, but that the magic that created them was what made them disintegrate the way that they did. After filling their talons with some boulders, the rocks dropped their load on the monster. The rocks were not vaporized instantly, rather it took a few minutes for them to be absorbed by the monster. The monster itself not really paying them much attention, both times. But the soldiers noticed that when the magically created rocks and mud hit, the monster looked like it grew more aware of its surroundings. Yuri, magic earth results in instant vaporization, while regular rocks take a while for it to digest them, Tem reported. What of its energy levels, or its reaction to the things thrown at it? Yuri asked. Magic made it more aware, while regular stuff didn't even phase it, Tem said. Next element please, Yuri said. Mages, soak it. Tem ordered the mages. Rock riders find some water to drench it with, once the mages are done. The mages powered up their water elemental spells and had torrents of magical water make their way toward the monster. The visible effect of such attacks resulted in the monster growing a little bit bigger, but once all the water had been absorbed by the creature, it grew significantly in size. Some of the soldiers believed that it had absorbed the magically enhanced water, and since it was made of some form of liquid, it had absorbed the magic as well. After an hour or two, the rocks were finally able to drop their load after having to fly to the coast to gather some water. The water was also absorbed by the monster, but it did not grow as fast, or as much as when the magically singed and enhanced water hit it. Well, Yuri asked. It being liquid assimilated the water, it grew in size both times, but the magic somehow made it grow faster and larger, Tem reported the findings. Set it on fire, Yuri said, magic only. Gotcha, Tem said, then ordered the troops what to do via the radios. Mages firebomb the thing, rocks just observe. The mages fired up as much power as they could, fire being the most volatile and hard to control of all the elements, as not only was it impulsive in nature, but should it not be treated right it would incinerate the caster. Such a task that the mages had set their fire magics on was something that they had never thought that they would have encountered. Once the fire was let loose, when the fires were shot toward the monster, the result was not as they had expected. Instead of being absorbed or consuming the thing in flames, burning it to a crisp, forever to never crawl on the ground for the rest of eternity, instead of the expected results, the monster had been turned to glass, as if it had been made of glass. Yuri, it turned to glass, Tem reported. I expected as much, Yuri said. If you have any shinobi with you, I would have you cut it with wind, as I don't think that magical winds would be such a good idea. So what would you have us do? Tem asked. I would have you drop boulders on the thing and see if it shatters, Yuri said. After the troops were informed of what would be done, the rock riders immediately got to work. The boulders that they dropped on it were not vaporized, instead they shattered part of the thing. The only thing that was observed aside from the shattering effect that the rocks had on the glassified shell, was that the whole thing had not been turned into glass. Inside the glass shell was still acidic slime. The shell shattered, but the innards are still slime, Tem reported. Firebomb it, then shatter it with regular rocks, Yuri said. Oh, and have some of the mages try and drain the thing of its life force, if it has one. The orders were relayed to those that were to be part of the operation. Turning it to glass, and shattering it, while trying to drain it of its life force, worked for a while, but soon some of the soldiers noticed that the thing started to produce an enraged aura, for some reason. The thing knew what was happening to it. It appeared that it had not been totally awake from the start, but rather it was groggy. It was still in its waking stages, which was why it had allowed itself to be hit by the numerous attacks. But now that it was finally fully awake, it was getting angry, and like another green and hulking thing, one would not want to be near it when it was angry. Some of the soldiers informed the Nufu clansmen of their observations, but it was a bit too late. Riders, cease your attacks. A Nufu member called out through the radio. Evasive manwevers. Don't get hit. But it's not doing any. The particular rock rider was unable to finish his statement as he was vaporized by the swing of one of the monster's many arms, or more like acidic tentacles. Mages, roast the thing as fast as you can. Tem shouted over the radio, stop those arms. The mages quickly did as they were told, not wanting the blood of their comrades to be on their hands should they not be able to halt the attacks of the monster. But the thing was quite fast when it was angry. It weaved its tentacles around like there was no such a thing as air resistance. Many of the rock riders were vaporized when hit. Some fell from the sky as the rock that they were on lost a wing, or a talon, or some other body part. Body parts were not littering the ground as the monster did not of parts, it disintegrated them. Part by part, person by person, rock by rock, the Rosuto forces were froze to try and keep up with the thing. Tem. Status report. Yuri demanded, hearing the screams of the injured and of the as well as the orders being shouted by the soldiers and mages. The thing's gone nuts, we can't crash it as fast as it takes our flyers out, it's only a matter of time before it decides to come for the rest of us, Tem said. Well, I guess you can freeze then cut it up with wind now, but you'll be dealing with smaller version of it if you do, Yuri said. Anything's better than the present situation, Tem said, then relayed some new orders. The mages were tasked with glassifying the acidid slime monster, while other mages cut the thing up, creating smaller version of the thing. The rocks were ordered to fall back to base camp, those that were still able to fly though, those that weren't were ordered to avoid getting hit by the monster. By the time that most of the rocks had returned to base camp, the monster had been cut down to size, but in its place were hundreds of smaller versions of the original, all with the potential to reach the same size of the original, if they could absorb some materials. But some of the soldiers noticed that the monsters did not absorb the land that they moved on, as the soil that they were on was immune to their absorption effect. Yuri, new situation, there are hundreds of the thing now, and they all look to be closing in on base camp fast. Some soldiers have also noticed that they can't seem to absorb the ground that they are moving on at present. The boulders were from the sides of the crater that the village was found in, Tem said. I have an idea, but you need all the mages to expend all their mana to do it, Yuri said. Why now, and not before? Tem asked. It was huge before, now with all the tiny pieces I think I can make it so that the thing is unable to harm anymore, Yuri said. Well, what is it then? Tem asked, a little but impatient, but that was acceptable what with his present predicament. Have the mages turn the soil beneath the slimers into dust, sand trap the things, have fall into a tube. Once they're all in, I want you to have the rocks drop all the napalm that you got into the hole to glassify them all lots of other burnable things to keep the fires going, drop boulders in after the flames have taken over, got it? Yori said. Got it, Tem said. After all orders were relayed, the operation continued, and finally the Slimmer threat had been ended before it could go beyond the borders of the crater that the village was in. Good work, troops. This means we can meet up with everyone else, Tem said via radio to all the troops. They left the place after burying all their and doing all the other things that they had to do before heading out. But before they were able to leave the place, someone from the back of the group reported in a sighting. The majors and the remaining rock riders had missed something. It wasn't another Slimmer, thankfully, but it was something. Report, Tem said via radio. He was the only officer left after the ordeal after all. I saw something move underground, like a sandfish, not as big, but it moved a few meters away from the flank. The soldier reported. There it is again. It's fast approaching. Sit tight, soldier, Tem said in response. Majors, see what that thing is. After some scanning, the majors found what or who it was that was closing in on the group. Prepare yourselves. We're under attack, Tem said over the radio, which got all the troops to be more alert. The thing that the soldier in the rear of the group saw that whatever the underground thing was had changed direction. Sir, there's over 1,000 of them, coming in from all directions. That one at the rear was a decoy, one of the majors closest to Tem said. Who are they, and where are they? Tem said. They've got us surrounded, sir, over 1,000 of them, possibly remnants of the defenders from the north, the major reported. All shinobi, we could be dealing with a lot of sound attacks here. After this message, I want radio silence, total silence, majors silence shields if you please on the whole group, everyone discreetly form groups, prepare to defend yourselves, Tem said, then shut off his radio, and tucked away his portable mirror communication device. Just as soon as Tem had shut off his equipment, the attack began. Oto Nin were popping out of the woodwork, grasped in their hands were a number of different weapons, varying in shape and size, and sharpness. From hammers and staves, to kunai and katana, there were just so many of them. Their rage could be felt by all the Rosuto forces. These attackers were what was left of the TSLE wall defenders up in the northern border of Rice Field, whose comrades had lost their lives in battle, in the defense of their homeland. These guys were just lucky enough to come across the dwindled numbers of Group 3. Having been feeling the effects of fighting for too long, and working overtime for an extended number of hours, days, and the like, the Rosuto troops were ill-prepared for the ferocity of the attacking Oto Nins. Half of the remaining ground forces were killed within minutes of the start of the attack. By the time that Tem noticed this, he gathered some of the warriors closest to him, those that were still able to fight. They've already wiped out half of us, we need to eradicate them, fast, ideas? Tem asked. The mage that was with them was doing all in his power to buy the group some time. Any of you from Tenshi? Tem asked, he being from Sekihin. All of us are, why? One of them asked. Good. Attack with everything you've got, leave not a single Oto Nin alive, Tem said. Seriously, we get to go all out? One of the soldiers asked. They had been holding back their power, the power that flowed in their veins, since after using it, they didn't think that they could control themselves. Yes, just make sure that no friendlies are harmed. Once all the Oto Nins have been silenced, I want you lot to simply regroup and await orders. Find an Achida if you can, understood? Tem asked. Hi, the soldiers said. Drop the barriers, mage, and do as your ancestors in Tetsu did in the past. Tem shouted as he drew a pair of kama, and entered the battle. King Oto Nin after Oto Nin, one another. The Oto Nins began to see that they were outmatched. Tradition, training, and the like had caused a regional Kekai Genkai to form in the blood of the children of the former separate nations of Rosuto no Kuni. All the warriors kept some traits of those that used to rule the lands that make up Rosuto no Kuni. Like the Tenshi, who were the beautiful people, but had a love for battle like no other, their blood allowed them to become berserkers. They became stronger, while at the same time gained an advanced healing factor. The Tetsu mage unleashed far more destructive spells than any of the group had ever seen in their lifetimes. It truly had blossomed into war if a normally peaceful mage could turn into a cold-hearted and bloodthirsty cur. The Oto Nin and their jutsu stood no chance against the blood of those that had fought in war for 1,000 years, resting for 1,000 more, but finally being unleashed on the world once again. Doton, Doryuden. Multiple Oto nin called out as they slammed their palms on the ground, which caused the soil to turn to mud, and turn into earth dragons. The boss of lung dragons formed, and from their mouths numerous mud balls were shot out at high speed, heading straight for a number of Rosuto troops. Thinking that was that, the Oto nins were unable to see the mud balls, and the dragons were cut to ribbons by the whip-wielding signs of the former Sakura no Kuni. The whips were coated with wind element chakra, and not only SD through the projectiles and the dragons, but the wind blades went on to detach the heads of the shinobi from their boss. Dancing through the sea of shinobi, the warriors of Rosuto moved with the grace of death gods, weaving in and out of harm's way, dealing death blows left, right, and center, none of them caring at all about what happened to their boss in the process, for they all knew that by how they were fighting they would survive, and that was all that mattered. After roughly 500 of the Oto nin had perished in what they thought would be an easy battle, one of the few chunin in the group radioed for some reinforcements. Apparently the 1,000 weren't the only ones in the area. 2,000 more arrived to deal some death on the invaders. It may have been such a small group of them left, even the aerial troops had suffered some losses, but not as bad as the ground forces. The Rosuto forces were down to 200-something troops all in all, from more than 5,000, that was all that remained. While the Oto nins just kept on coming, the final 200 unleashed all their pent-up thirst for blood, and no matter how many reinforcements arrived to aid the Oto nins, it did not matter. The Rosuto warriors cut through them like hot knives through butter. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.